Hi church, my name is Stacy Orr and I coordinate the Heights Women's events here at the church. I am so excited to be joining you today as we continue to unpack the promises of God. I don't know about you, but I have needed these devotionals over the last few weeks. I've needed to be reminded that God is faithful and that He keeps His promises. The world has been throwing at us a whole bunch of things, and sometimes they even are looking like they are promises to us. But we need to be reminded, church, that the promises come from Jesus, and we need to lean into them each and every day as a reminder. You know, as we think about the word promises, that really means just declarations that a declaration that something will or will not occur. When my son was younger, he used to ask me to make promises to do something with him or give him something. And you know, my answer was typically, I will try my best. I rarely ever use the words, I promise. You see, I recognized in my humanity that there were going to be times where I couldn't keep those promises, and I wanted my son to trust in what I said. The good news is, friends, is that God always keeps His promises. And not only does He keep His promises, He's written them down for us in a manner that we can go back to them time and time again. For those seasons in our life where we've forgotten or we've just grown weary, we can go back and be reminded of His promises. In James 1:5, Jennifer Alessio talked about this last week. The promise is that God will give wisdom to those who genuinely seek it. And then, as if to double down on that particular promise, we are given a book of promises, an entire book in the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs was written by King Solomon, and King Solomon truly understood the value of wisdom. So much so that instead of asking for riches or fame of God, he asked for wisdom. And in this book, he gives this piece of wisdom that we're going to spend a little bit of time on today. In Proverbs 3:5, it says this: "Trust in the Lord with your whole heart and lean not on your own understanding. Acknowledge Him in all your ways, and He will make your paths straight." Wow. There is a lot of great things tucked into these two verses, and we might be tempted to just jump to the finish line where He will make our paths straight. But I want to reel us back in and look very closely at the first word of this particular verse, the word trust. You see, it says, in order to gain that wisdom that God promises us, we have to trust in Him. And not just a little bit of trust with our whole hearts. Now, some of us might be asking, what does wholehearted trust look like? And the great thing about this particular verse is it gives us a little definition tucked kind of right inside. Wholehearted trust is not leaning on our own understanding. You see, when I lean on my own understanding, I am thinking that I still have the ability to control the situation, that I have the capability of making my own path straight. When I think about that verse, making our path straight, I can't help but remember some times when I was younger and I would take long drives with my father through windy roads. We lived in Morro Bay at the time, and we'd often take trips between the beach and the inland city of Paso Robles, and that was a very winding street or road. And my dad, in his haste to get to the destination quicker, would often attempt to make the drive a little faster and a little straighter. Now, I'm not saying that you should attempt this at home, but he would simply drive straight through the curves to get to the other side. He was literally relying on his own understanding that there was not another car on the other side of the curve. Now, I'm happy to report that we got to our destination on multiple occasions safely, but it truly was a gamble. The great news, friends, is that God doesn't gamble with us when we trust in Him and genuinely seek to gain wisdom. He will make our paths straight. Now, I want to be mindful of that phrase, He will make our path straight, as we might also be tempted to think that that is a path that is free from trouble, free from doubt, worry, fear, and pain. But that is not what this verse says. This verse says, He will make our path straight, not He will make our lives easy or He will make our lives free from pain. In fact, in John 16:33, it's very clear that in this world we will have trouble. This promise of a straight path is not a life free from difficulty, but rather a path that is illuminated by God's truth and the promise that He has overcome the world. He will show us the way we should go when we trust in Him, seek His wisdom, and stop trying to bend our own curves. You know, I mentioned at the top that the world is currently trying to get us to buy into the next best thing. But this verse is here to remind us that when we trust in Jesus with our whole heart, He will show us the way we should go. He will illuminate the crooked path so we can walk straight by His side. Church, I hope you have a fantastic week. Let's walk straight together along Jesus' side as we trust in Him, as He is the true promise keeper. See you next time.